Hello, everyone. While the customer isn't always right, and this is, of course, for everyone out there that does rideshare, because I once did rideshare, and sometimes the customers would leave comments, which is their opinion, so that's not really a right or wrong thing. However, sometimes the client would leave a remark that wasn't highly favored on my side of things, and I'm sure those out there that are currently doing rideshare still deals with that today. And both parties can comment below and give me your thoughts. Talk about the individuals that are the drivers and the clients that sit in the back seat. The reason why I said a client is not always right is because, frankly, there's no absolutes. So it's not one way is always right, and that's just I think that's bad for business. And yes, I understand that the business owner makes all the rules, but I'm just talking about it's bad for business from the standpoint that it has too many hiccups, too many, not enough democracy. You know, um, there's been a few times when I was doing rideshare, like I said in prior videos, that I had a client make a false statement about me, and I was able to rectify that situation, but that required me to call customer service and see what was going on, get to the bottom of it. Now, you all may be thinking, well, everyone could just call customer service if a client says something false about them and the driver ends up getting kicked out of the system. Well, that is not true because when I was driving, let me retract that. That could be true now because, again, I'm no longer in the rideshare gig economy. But when I was, you had to reach a certain point. You had to have a number of stars, a number of rides to break through and get certain features. And one of those features was to be able to contact customer service, like talk to a person. And so I had enough rides under my belt where I was able to do that. And thankfully, I was able to get my situation absolved. But it shouldn't even have came to that. I think it should have went like this. I think the ride share company should have reached out to me and asked it as a question, like a concern. Like don't state it as if it's a fact, especially when there was no proof. It was just the client words versus mine. And I did what any person that was not in the wrong would do. I said that is completely false because she was making the accusation that I was playing a sports show and the sports show was rude and foul language, and that was not the case. So once I told them that, I said, "Hey, can you all?" Because at this time I had over like 500 rides, so I was like, "Hey, if you all go back through my account and look at my comments, you all see that this is not an accurate statement because all of my comments from all of my drivers had no comments of such language." And that's what they did. They went back and, they said, I can't quote word for word because it's been so long, but paraphrasing, they said, hey, we're going to not deactivate your account because we see that, you're a good driver, you had good comments, you had a lot of 4 and 5 stars. And before getting off the line, I recall them saying, just try to be careful of what you're playing. You don't want to upset the client. And I just said, okay. But as I sit here today, I'm like, that's subjective. The client can have a whole mental issue. No disrespect to people that have mental illnesses. Or the person can like that I drove smoothly or I offered them water and just make up something. And that's why I say the customer is not always right, especially when it comes to rideshare. I mean, is the customer right when they get in the car and they just yakking, yakking, won't be quiet, don't speak? I mean, sometimes had bad hygiene. I mean, I could have. My thing is, if that is how it currently is, you all can let me know again in the comment section. But my thing is this: it should be both ways. It should be down the middle. A rideshare driver should be able to call up, make a complaint about a client, hypothetically, and then the client can no longer ride or gets banned from the gig economy and deactivate their account to where they can no longer do any rides. I think that's only fair. And I know you all may think, hey, that's doing too much. It shouldn't be that way. It interrupt business for the ride shares. Well, check this. That is already happening, except it's just happening for the driver. Now imagine you're a driver and you have a whole LLC built around this. And then within a 10-day span, you have 3 drivers that file complaints about you and they ponder the idea of deactivating your account. Now imagine you did more rides than me. Imagine you're like at 4,000 rides. And you have nothing but 4 and 5 stars. You have nothing but amazing comments. You have a lot of referrals. Um, and then they just deactivate your account. That's ridiculous. Which would lead me to another concern. Why I say the customer isn't always right. Like how do these gig economies, these rideshare applications, how do they decide what driver to believe? I mean, is it based on race? Is it based on gender? Is it based on tone? Because as of today, from when I was driving, it just seems as though the only conditions is the customer is always right. That's crazy. I mean, I'm not really the one to use a race car, but just let's say it's a black person gets into a Caucasian person car, and the black person is racist, but the only reason they in the car because they need to get what they need to get, and then they leave a foul comment, which is untrue, and there's no passion to find out if the Caucasian driver was really racist. Or let's do the reverse. Let's say it's a black driver and a white client, and then the Caucasian client just makes up a story just because the driver's black, and the black driver has no way to back him or herself. You know what? Let's do another example that has nothing to do with race for the most part. Let's say let's say a little person is driving because I'm cool with little people. They're people too. So let's say a little person is driving and someone a regular client gets in the back seat and the client in the back seat is a little off because it's a little person. Even though the little person has great ratings, great stars, 4 to 5 stars, even though they had a lot of great comments, even though that client did hop their ass in the back seat of the little person car, knowing that they were a little person. Because I'm sure people probably, mentioned it in the comments, not in a negative manner, in a positive manner, right? And they decide to get their ass in the back of the car, and all of a sudden they get out the car. The little person drove correctly, offered them like water and candy, some chips, good conversation, like a 12-minute drive. It gets the client where they need to be, and the client gets out, goes to the app, and leaves a harsh comment based solely off that it was a little person. And guess what? And then the Rideshare app don't even ask the little person specifically what happened. Ask any of the drivers in these examples, do they have any proof? They just say, hey, well, look, we're going to deactivate your account because the client said you stopped too hard. Or you didn't ask them about their day for 3 times in a row when you asked once and they didn't say anything. That is very off-putting, extremely off-putting. And that's just what I think. When doing rideshare, the customer is not always right. In some cases, the customer/client is dead ass wrong. And we as drivers, me as a former driver knew this. Current drivers, I'm sure you all out there know this as well. And clients/customers, you all can respond to, because y'all know sometimes y'all are dead ass wrong. You all are not always right. So I think these rideshare companies, Uber and Lyft, they need to fix that. They need to tighten that up. And I know that's up to the business owner, but the CEO and whoever owns the company, but they need to tighten that up. That's all, and that's fact. Click the link below and go check out my book. It's on Amazon. Feel free to get it for a friend, get it for a family member, or get it for yourself. And if not, just get it for an enemy. And if you get it for an enemy, it's likely that you all can become associates or even friends. And depending on the nature of the relationship, you all can become lovers. So like, share, subscribe, leave a comment below, and you all have a good one. And I'll talk to you all later. Peace.